Hey there, I'm Teddy, ACON's Manager of Trans and Gender Diverse Health Equity, and I'd also like to acknowledge that wherever we are, wherever you're watching this forum, we are in Aboriginal land, and I'd like to pay respects to all elders past, present and emerging, any Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islanders who are watching this, who are participating in this, and a particular shout out to our sister girls and brother boys who are truly the future.
I'm AJ, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm president of Trans Pride Australia. Today's part of our Trans Pride during a pandemic. It's a 4-part online forum series for trans and gender diverse people and our allies, with support from the City of Sydney. With COVID, this has changed the playing field for many, and we have discovered on our TPA digital hangouts the vital importance of people keeping together. We are family, we are friends, and some have become lovers.
My very small team at ACON and I recently pulled off something huge. We built Trans Hub, and it's for all trans people in New South Wales, our loved ones, allies, and health providers. And while Trans Hub has lots of the answers to our community's questions, nothing beats a conversation to learn more.
This year hasn't been an easy time for anyone, but with COVID-19, it's been hurting those communities that have already been hurt. We know that many trans and gender diverse people have been having an especially tough time.
So this series was created to help fight back, to provide you with tools and connections to get through, and to flourish as we come out of this pandemic.
For more information and resources, either join one of the Trans Pride Australia community groups. We've got 4 closed groups, one for trans and gender diverse people, one for the allies and friends, a partners group, and a parents and carers group. Or just keep watching today. Don't forget to check out Trans Hub. It's simple to navigate, and there's a link in the chat right now for you to be able to visit. How easy can that be?
It's so good to have you here.
Yes, hello everyone, and good evening to wherever you are around Australia. My name is Brianna Curtis. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a sister girl. I identify as a woman and with a lived trans experience. Wada, yinga rela ngala nama Brianna Curtis written a nuka. Lana yinga wunawia kalana rangaraka wulanam nuna rilla kwara mab rilla alo aradu mabandrokul nuna galanam. And I would like to welcome you, and I would like to do acknowledgement of country, the air that we breathe, the water that we walk on, the water that we swim in, the land that we walk on, wherever we are in this continent that we call Australia. This always has and always been Aboriginal land. And I would like to say happy Natal Week to everyone out there. And yes, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I'm all the way in Sydney on Darrell land in Eora Nation. And I would like to welcome all our panelists that's going to be on, that's going to be speaking on the panel this evening with us. And I hope you can sit down, learn and listen, and watch and learn and listen about what we are going to be giving out our information from our heart and from our culture, being First Nations, transgender people. And there's Emma Bastable, who is identifies as I'll go one by one, and can you introduce yourselves and just tell a little bit about yourself? So could I get Emma Bastable to just to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about themselves first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My name's Emma. I'm 28 years old. I'm a Gamilaroi woman living on beautiful Gadigal land. I'm a solicitor at a community legal centre. I hope to share some more about my life, I guess, with you later on today.
Thank you so much, Emma, for that. Next, we have Hayden Moon. Hayden, could you just tell us, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm Hayden. I'm a Wiradjuri brother boy. I'm living on Gadigal land where I have since I was 2 years old, but I'm originally from Gillargumbone. And I am backstage at the Great Hall at Sydney Uni, so I apologise if it's a little bit noisy, but that's me.
Thank you, Hayden, for that. Beautiful. Next up, I would like to introduce Sister Girl Lisa Taylor.
Hi, I'm Lisa Taylor. I'm a sister girl from Warramai country in Port Stephens. I'm coming to you from Bunjalung country in northern New South Wales. And I'm really thrilled to be part of this panel, which is a first for me, to have a panel that's all Indigenous, even chaired by an Indigenous person, and to also have the parent of a brother boy with us and a young brother boy with us is really special, and I'm really thrilled to be part of this today.
Thank you, Lisa. Next up, we have Uncle Dean Gilbert.
Yamadumarang Innet Din. I'm from Wiradjuri country. I'm currently sitting on Gumbaynggirr country. I'm so happy and proud to be a part of this panel. And happy NAIDOC to everybody.
Thank you, Uncle Dean. And last but not leastly, we have Kate Beckett.
Darling, you go first.
Okay. I'm Mark. I'm a brother boy. I'm 11, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say.
Well, he's Mudawari from my side. He's Mudawari Nyakara from my side, but his dad is Gumbaynggirr. So Genegay Gawa, the uncle that was down in Gumbaynggirr land. Yeah, that's it. I'm just his mum. Okay. But yeah, that's where he's from.
Oh, fabulous. Lovely to meet you all, have you all on the panel today, and so glad that you can join us and to have this fabulous NAIDOC Week presentation for all our sister girls and brother boys and Aboriginal, trans and gender diverse people around Australia. I hope you're all listening in, and our family members and allies, I hope you're all listening in and watching us today. So to start off, I have, there's a few questions that I would like to ask the panelists today, this evening. The first question is, can you tell us, or tell the audience, tell everyone, tell us how you define sister girl and brother boy? And you can, anyone can go at anytime, but just anyone's up to answer that. So
Dean, so look, brother boy is a term used by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to describe gender diverse people who have a male spirit and take on the male roles within the community.
Thank you, Uncle Dean.
To me, the term sister girl is not necessarily one that that is the same. It's definitely not the same as being transgender. It's very different, and I think it, for me, sister girl encompasses my female spirit, and I feel that I have a female spirit. I also feel connected to my male spirit as well, and yeah, and I think for me the term has got nothing to do with hormones or any of them gender affirming steps. That it's just a term that that resonates with me from the moment I heard it. You know, I feel really strongly connected with the term.
Yeah, wonderfully worded. Could I add on that also that how I define sister girl and brother boy is exactly adding on to exactly what you and Uncle Dean, Sister Lisa and Uncle Dean have said, that we are spiritual beings. So, you know, inside we have a female spirit or a male spirit, or maybe even both. And we are strongly connected to culture and language and to our culture and our Aboriginality and being, you know, First Nations people. Yeah, would anybody else like to add on that?
Yeah, I think as well, it's also important to acknowledge that, you know, these terms are not binary terms in every aspect. Obviously, for some people they are, but not for everyone. And I think there's a huge misconception in the Indigenous community that, you know, every brother boy is a binary trans man and every sister girl is a binary trans woman, and that's just not the case. Please don't assign your you know, your colonial gender binary to our genders. Like, that's really inappropriate. So I think that's really important to note. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted by people in the background, but I'm going to tell them to be quiet. But yeah, I think that's very important to know that, you know, the gender binary is a colonial construct, and it's not appropriate to assign that to.
Yeah, that's well said, Hayden. I totally agree with you 100%. You know, like with the binary, you know, like there's nations where there's no binary at all. You know, people just see the spirit in them and they see them as a human being and being who they are. And yeah, you know, that's always been a part of our culture. And thanks a lot for elaborating more on that, Hayden. Is there anyone else that would like to say a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think it's pretty simple. Like, a brother boy or a sister girl is anyone who is First Nations who identifies as a brother boy or a sister girl. Yeah, I like to see it as a relatively inclusive term. It can mean different things to different people. And I guess I also just wanted to acknowledge that for some, you know, First Nations people, it doesn't feel right for them, and that's okay as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Emma. Beautifully said. Did anyone else want to answer on that, or should I move on to the next question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you know, I think it's a really important point that Emma made, that, you know, not all First Nations people identify with this term, and some people strongly move away from it, and, you know, for whatever reason, you know, sometimes it's self-preservation. You know, I've met sister girls who just identify as being women, and a lot of that's got to do with you know, surviving in remote communities or whatever, you know, for them, so they don't align themselves with that term.
Yeah, and it's also important to understand that yeah, just adding on to what both of you have said, that just sister girl and there are First Nations transgender people who actually do not identify with the term sister girl or brother boy. They prefer to be called Aboriginal transgender. So, you know, and at the end of the day, we're all under the same umbrella. And but that's just the way they identify themselves as it, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, those are really good points. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. So Annalisa, where and how did the terms sister girl and brother boy originate from?
I think they've been around for thousands of years, maybe in different language groups. You know, we had our own terminology for them. I personally don't know from my language group, and Warramai people, what the term for sister girl or brother boy is. But I have heard over the years from different people from different nations have different terms. Please don't ask me to recite them. Yeah, I think it sort of become about, like, you know, how we call cisgendered people, you know, she's my sister or my brother, you know, she's a sister girl. And that's sort of how the term come about, and people just started using it to describe each other. Oh, that's my sister, blah, blah, blah. And I think when we all come together for the first time on Magnetic Island back in, I think it was 1999, we all, come from all different nations, and we all decided as a group that we would spell, the spelling of the sister girl, and we spelt it different from our cisgendered sister girls. So we spelt it the way we spell it today, Sistergirl. And we really wanted to make that definition between our cisgendered sister girls and our cisgendered brother boys, so that, they weren't offended in any way by us using that term for Indigenous trans people. So it was, sort of set in concrete by, by the community, really, back on Magnetic Island. And it's, people have spelt it the way we spell it since then. And that's my knowledge of it. So, other people might have a different interpretation, but to me, that's how it happened. And I do understand that other people might have a difference of opinion of that. And I was on Magnetic Island.
Awesome. Does anyone else would like to add to that on the panel? Okay, well, I'll move on to the next question. What is the word or terminology for a brother boy or sister girl in your native language, in your language or your tongue where you come from?
Maybe you can start, Bri.
Yeah, I can start off, because I forgot to mention earlier that I'm from Arana Nation, also from the Luriga Nation, the Warpi Nation, Alyawara Nation, Warramunga and Karij, and then Madura Nation as well from Central Australia. And we in each tribe have their similar but different different terminologies and wording for a sister girl or a brother boy. Like in Aranda, in Western Aranda, they would call me Kwara. In Eastern Aranda, they will call me Marlendura. And that will be the same for, and also in Alyawara, they'll call me Arilendura. In Luriga, they'll call me Kunga Kunga. And same for brother boy. In Luriga, they'll say Adu for a brother boy. I'm sorry, Wati for brother boy. And in Western Aranda, they say Adu for brother boy. So, those are in my languages, and I'm happy to start off. And if anyone would like to share, there's also non-binary terms in our language as well, where there's a two-spirit person, or actually a non-binary where there's no gender at all to our skin names and to a person. So would like to just to share that a bit. And would somebody else like to share their language, or what a sister girl or brother boy name in your language would be? I think it's going to be quiet. So like what Aunty Lisa said before, like the impact of colonialism, that a lot of languages that have been lost due to cultural genocide, and it's not fair that that has happened, and that that there were terms and languages used before in languages, but it's good to have that. I think it's good to have a language and cultural revival, and whenever you get the chance to do that. So okay.
I personally don't know the term in my language, and I'd really love to know, and it's something that I'm going to put down as being, you know, something that I must put on my bucket list to do, and it's something I'd really love to.
Yeah, I think it's important for sister girls and brother boys and gender diverse people all around Australia to do your research. You know your terminologies. You know, even for even if you're gay or lesbian or being non-binary or you know, for sexuality or being two-spirit or free-spirit or whatever you identify as. You know, and
I always like this story behind Mullagu mob in South Australia. Because I think Mullagu means black cat, so it's a reclaimed term from you know, it was a derogatory term used against Indigenous gay people, and they've reclaimed it. I love it. I think it's a great word.
Thank you very much, Annalisa, for talking a bit about that, Sister Lisa. As for the audience members, don't feel shy to ask questions, but we will answer questions. Like, just pop it in the chat, but we'll tend to ask questions at the end of our forum. Okay. So, what are some of the common misconceptions about sister girls and brother boys?
I think.
Hayden, would you like to start? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, I mean, what I mentioned before, that, you know, all sister girls and brother boys are binary trans people. That is a huge one. It happens to me all the time, even from who you would think are the most progressive people and the most, like, you know, woke people. They still assume that I'm a transgender man, which is just not correct. You know, I'm, I guess, a transmasculine man in colonial terms, but even that isn't, you know, completely accurate, you know, because you're prescribing these colonial terms to my, you know, Indigenous gender. That is a huge misconception, to the point I wrote an entire article about it, because it just kept happening. And I think that's really important, that people know that, like, yes, obviously there absolutely are binary trans women and binary trans men who are sister girls and brother boys, but there are also people all along the gender spectrum who identify as a sister girl or a brother boy, and that's really, really important, because otherwise there's just a lot of erasure. And, you know, it's just continuing this colonial understanding of gender and, you know, putting it onto us as people when we should be doing the opposite. You know, breaking down the gender binary is part of decolonization, and if we really truly want to decolonize, we need to be doing that. So that's a big one. And the other one is assuming that we're all from the Tiwi Islands, because that's really, like, kind of frustrating. Like, obviously I love the Tiwi Island people, they are beautiful, but, you know, personally, like, I'm very proud of being Wiradjuri, and I want people to recognize me for that and not assume that I'm a different mob, because that can be quite hurtful when someone doesn't know that you are from your own mob. So those are two things I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lisa, could you talk a bit more about what you were saying before about, you know, not all sister girls are from the Tiwi Islands, like, just adding on what Hayden just said, you know, like him being mistaken, you know, because he said he was a brother boy, people assume that he was more automatically from the Tiwi Islands. So could you speak a bit more about that, Lisa?
Sure. I first of all, I want to give a shout out to my sisters from the Tiwi Islands and say that I love you, and especially a big shout out to Crystal Love, who's been in hospital and having a hard time at the moment. We all love you, and yeah, you know, over the last 20 years that I've been advocating, a lot of the time, you know, at times I've done interviews and radio interviews, and people haven't seen me. They don't realise that I'm a light-skinned sister girl. And then they go, oh, and then they go, how's the weather on Tiwi? And I'm like, well, you know, I'm actually, you know, a Warramai sister girl from Port Stephens, and I don't know. I think there's a fascination. It's a bit like, almost a bit like, oh, people want to go and save these remote, you know, this remote community from, you know, there's this fascination with wanting to photograph sister girls, and you know, and that we're, you know, living in remote, isolated places. And, you know, for some of us, that's very true. But for many of us, we're, you know, we're in cities, we're in, you know, regional communities all across this country. And I just think, you know, I think people need to stop and think about, you know, what are you trying to do when you're trying to, you know, you're trying to raise awareness about, you know, sister girls, you know, but you're focusing on one area, you know, and I get it, but I don't get it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great explanation of that, Lisa. Yeah, fantastic. And, you know, I can also say that I've been mistaken for being from the Tiwi Islands as well, you know, because I identify as being a sister girl, but I'm not. Like, I have connections up there, but I'm not from the Tiwi Islands. They are not my nation, and I am a proud Aranda quite a sister girl, you know. And so we need to stop that. We need to stop this assumption that all sister girls and brother boys are from these misconceptions that all sister girls and brother boys are from the Tiwi Islands. That we are living on this big continent that we call Australia, and how we are living on this big continent that we call Australia, yet we have many nations, and we are so diverse, and sister girls and brother boys are spread out through all Australia. And yeah, so we need to abolish that misconception about sister girls and brother boys coming from the Tiwi Islands, which is not a fact, and it's not true. Even though that the highest per capita of sister girls in Australia are from the Tiwi Islands. So, you know, I do acknowledge them on that, and I have very strong connections with the sister girls and the brother boys up in the Tiwi Islands. And yeah, so yeah, it's a really good point what Hayden and Lisa made about misconceptions and assumptions.
And I think when people are so focused on, you know, that there's only one group of sister girls, then, you know, the sister girls that are, you know, the large population of sister girls in Wilcannia or Palm Island or the other areas. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If people aren't putting, you know, energy into or resources into them sister girls. So I think, yeah, do your homework.
Tell them, Lisa, to do the homework and do the research. And, you know, there's more of us out there, and we exist, and we're here, we are going to stay. We're loud and proud, and we're here to stay. Thank you so much. Let's celebrate sister girls and brother boys, eh? Let's celebrate what, you know, I'm just going to ask the panelists, what are some of the great achievements, great victories, and great things you have done, or what you are doing at the moment? Just go ahead, unmute yourself, and just tell the world what you're doing, and yeah, let them know the great things what you're doing.
So I like advocating for the young ones that are coming through. So, and 15 years ago, there was really no role models around for myself taking the journey into in my community. So I'd like to be there to support our young ones coming through and around culture stuff. Just be there, available. Yeah, just help them through their journey.
Wow, that's really great, Uncle Dean. You're doing really wonderful work up there. Thank you for sharing that. Emma, would you like to talk a little bit about what you're doing at the moment or what you've achieved in the past?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to talk about it. I guess I just wanted to first just iterate that like I'm quite privileged and not everyone has the same opportunities that I've had. But yeah, okay, so I was one of the first 100 Indigenous people to graduate from UNSW Law School. Thank you. I worked on the Australian Law Reform Commission inquiry into incarceration rates of First Nations people. I worked with the only and first First Nations federal level judge. At one point, the judge and both of his associates, including me, were Royal First Nations, which is unheard of in in a court. I was admitted to practice last year. I currently work at a community legal centre. Most of my clients are Aboriginal. I'm currently one of 2 people in the organisation coordinating the New South Wales campaign to raise the age of criminal responsibility. I worked this year with Netball Australia to help with the launch of their elite transgender inclusion guidelines. I'm going to continue working with them next year on their community guidelines. Yeah, I guess those are just a few things. I want to keep going. Stop.
Wow, you deserve a round of applause, Emma. You're doing really good work. Congratulations. Kate, would you like to talk a little bit about would you like to talk about you and Mark about some of the
Ups and downs?
Yeah, not ups and downs, just some of the great things that you've accomplished.
Oh, well, I don't know if we've really accomplished that much. We did. Our dog just died, so we did the thing up the Opera House about Cookie Dough. It said I love Cookie Dough. It was a trans thing. He died. He got hit by a bus. Do you know that? He got hit by the 370 bus. All his guts came out, and we're both there, so going because we heard. Yeah, anyway, we're not gonna go into what happened. Do you want to we already showed you all our stuff. Yeah. So the ups and downs. I just think. What do you think?
I don't know.
I think it's like different because I was expecting, as my tattoo says, Pepper. So I was expecting a girl, but you just have different procedures of what goes on there. And so, yeah, I wasn't expecting us to have to go to the Westmead Hospital, having to go and get start blockers. We were starting he is, not me. He's starting blockers. So, you know what I mean? So just going and seeing the endocrinologist and all these other things, and then he has to go and see these other persons to make sure, a psychiatrist or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely awesome. Yeah, Mark, we all got your back, our little brother boy, and yeah, we've all got your back, and we're all rooting for you, and you just go for it. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Kate. Yeah, that's really good news, by the way.
Yeah, no, it is good. It's just there's just something that you just. But I think because he started transitioning so young, it made things a lot easier for both me and him, I think, because I just had him, and it's my first kid. And so you just have a kid and whatever, then you just go along with it. Whatever they want to do, you just freaking go along with it and just kind of hop along and blah blah blah. Like that's what you. So I think that's been a lot easier because he just guides me, and it's he guides me, and then I kind of go, okay, cool. Okay, what can we do? What can I do to support you around this? And that's it.
Yeah, on that note, Kate, tell us a bit about the challenges and stigma that you received from having that you and Mark both received. Him being a young brother boy at his age, and you being supporting, loving mother. And a beautiful mother of his, and just tell us a little bit about challenges and stigmas and that you have that you received over the years since Mark came as a young
I mean,
trans?
it's not as bad as what he receives, and it doesn't hurt me as much because sometimes he tells me sometimes of what people said to him. So obviously it's not that bad, but it's just things like, are you sure that he's transgender? Are you sure he wants to go through this? Then people saying that I'm forcing him into it because I actually wanted a boy and blah, 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 blah. So you just got all these like, you know, people are just like have their own opinions, and I think they just force them and shove them down your throat. But I've learned to deal with it because like he started being Mark, how old were you?
2.
Yeah, 2, 3. Yeah, and so I think no, how 11?
11.
Yeah, 11. So I've just learned like through those years of like, because I used to get so upset and go, yeah, I have fucking know my kid, fuck off. And
What a great comeback! I would have said the same thing if I was in your shoes. Yeah, you need a round of applause for that.
yeah, and then
Awesome.
I've just learnt now, like if they're gonna say stuff, I just look at Mark and go, does that hurt your feelings? Because it shouldn't. If it hurts his feelings, then it's gonna hurt my feelings. And so it's not about me, it's about him. He's the one that has to live day to day. I'm just his mum. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I can't understand, but because I haven't got any children of my own, but
Yeah.
if they came out as trans, I'll probably be as passionate and loving as you are. And yeah, you should be, you deserve a pat on the back for that. And
Thanks.
you're a really good Mark.
So
Oh, thank you, Mark, for doing that. Yeah,
he's so
pat on the
beautiful.
back
How can you not
for
love
us
him?
all.
Look at that little face.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's so
Oh, yeah, gorgeous. Yeah, no, that's great, awesome. So, yeah, thank you a lot for sharing that, Kate. Just going to go on to the next question now. So, what does gender affirmation look like for sister girls and brother boys? And Hayden, I think you would be good for starting off with this one.
Sorry, my computer did thing. I think gender affirmation can look really different to so many people, and especially sister girls and brother boys, where our gender identities can be such a broad range, and also our culture doesn't see gender the same way that the colonial culture does. So if we are looking to connect to our culture and to our gender, that can look so different to so many different people. What's right for me might not be right for someone else. For me, I have a masculine spirit. I don't identify as a man. I identify as a person with a masculine spirit, which is why I use the word brother boy for myself. But I mean, I wear makeup and I wear sparkly clothing and I'm a dancer and, pink is my favorite color, and I have long hair. It's tied back at the moment, but I have long hair. I don't look like your typical masculine person or your typical man. And that's important to me because I don't want to tie my gender presentation to colonial understandings of gender. That's for me personally, and also because I'm not a binary man, so there's that difference as well. But, someone who is a binary man might obviously want to present very, very masculine and, that's really important to them. So it's very specific. I think it was really beautiful watching the interview with the Tiwi Island Sister Girls and Miriam, I forgot her last name, but Miriam something, where they spoke about their facial hair and how it was there for
Miriam Margoyle.
Yeah, and they spoke about how that facial hair was for decoration, and I think that's really beautiful, and it speaks to how, people who aren't First Nations might think that a woman with facial hair is, weird and out of the ordinary, but in our culture, that's not always the case. But it's very, very specific. Some people will go on hormones, some people won't go on hormones, some people will want to change the way they present in everyday life, some people might not. There's just all these, it's really independent, individual, and also culture comes into play as well. So like for myself, doing men's business was really important to me. And I think cultural journey is very important to most brother boys and sister girls. But yeah, it's so individual. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Hayden. That was a good explanation of that. Yeah, I think it is, like I do personally know a few sister girls and brother boys who identify, and carry the female role in their communities and stuff, and also the male roles, being a brother boy or even being non-binary, and without accessing hormones, and it can be a struggle for especially sister girls and brother boys and Aboriginal, trans and gender diverse mob who are living out in remote communities to actually access the hormones. Like that was one of my stories, is that I had to relocate from my home country from Aranda country to relocate to Eora Nation and to Gadigal country and Darrell country just to access medication because I wanted to physically transition. However, that does not make me, the matter of the fact is, just because I access hormones does not make me more female than my sister girls who have no access to hormones. So yeah, it's important that we keep that in mind, that some sister girls prefer not to take hormones. Some brother boys prefer not to take testosterones. However, it does not change who they are as a person. Uncle Dean and Annalise, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I have to agree. Me personally, to me, it's about living true to my spirit. But I understand and support all types of gender affirmations, and I will always be respectful and give them the right pronouns and address them accordingly how they like to be dressed. I don't say, hey, look, I'm the masculine man, therefore the next brother boy's got to be a masculine man. I accept them for what journey they're taking, and I will support them wherever they will need support. So that's me personally.
Yeah, wonderfully said, Uncle Dean. Lisa, what do you think?
I'm 54. I've been doing this for a long time. I started transitioning when I was 14. And, part of that transition was, taking hormones and I was surrounded by a lot of trans women. And I always felt like I wasn't quite right, that something wasn't right about my transition. I had stuff like hormones and all of that stuff, and sisters, that helped me with things like facial hair, and really it wasn't I didn't start healing as a person until I was in early recovery. I stopped taking drugs and alcohol in my 30s. I totally stopped drinking when I hit 30, went to rehab, and then started my spiritual journey about connecting with who I was. And part of that was connecting with other sister girls and connecting to the sister girl community. And, that's really, to me, that's when I felt whole, was when I, connected with my sister girl community, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Lisa. Thank you so much for sharing that. Very beautiful. Would anyone else like to add on to that? Emma, would you like to add on to that? Or okay, awesome. So I'll just go on to the next one. What are the most amazing things about being trans and Aboriginal? Don't be shy, far away, anyone. Come on, Emma, unmute yourself and tell us what's awesome about being trans and Aboriginal.
Well, I think being part of the Black queer community is incredible. I've met so many amazing advocates and friends through it. Getting to be on panels and meet trans people of colour, including from, Indigenous countries and nations all around the world, not just from Australia. I guess coming to realize that my gender identity was part of this continuing culture, and it's something that had existed, for millennia. And just being accepted and welcomed by First Nations women. They're just some of the strongest people that I know, but they're not just strong, they're funny, they're creative, they're determined. I just think to be part of that legacy is amazing, and it's an honor.
Thank you, that's beautifully said. I'd like to add on to that, Emma, about, being a part of, one of the oldest living cultures in the world, if not the oldest living culture in the world. There are so many strong Aboriginal women that are sister girls we look up to, and brother boys, they look up to their men as well, the elders in our community that we thrive to learn from them and to gain knowledge from them. And without them we won't be here, and I think it's important that being trans and being Aboriginal, we are stuck in two societies, we're stuck in Aboriginal society and men's society, white men's society, Aboriginal law and white men's law. And so, we have, and especially being trans, we have to come back to our roots. And the great thing about being trans and Aboriginal is that our culture has never discriminated us. And, wherever I've been, I've spoken to many sister girls around Australia, and our culture has never discriminated us. There's always been a place for us in our community. There's always, we've got duties in our community. We have our own songs. We have our own, we have our own dances as well. So it's amazing how diverse and how close Aboriginal culture, nations and community around Australia is towards trans and gender diverse and non-binary sister girls, brother boys, and transgender people in general. So what do you think, Uncle Dean? Uncle Dean, what do you think?
No, I have to agree with you. Absolutely. Look, you just covered that beautifully. I possibly couldn't add anything else into it.
Thank you. All right, awesome. Does anyone want to add on to that? What the amazing things about being trans and being Aboriginal? How about?
Mark said
Yeah, awesome. I was just about to ask you to come on and talk.
I don't really know, but I've always been this way. I'm proud to be transgender and Aboriginal, and I don't really know.
Yeah, that's good work, Mark. You keep your head up, all right, bub. You're doing really well. Yeah.
I think for me, our community, we're such a social community, and we're such a spiritual community, and we're also connected. So to have, both being Aboriginal and that access to community and family, and, like if you're a blackfella, you're a blackfella, like, everywhere you see another blackfella, you're like, hey, like, and so to have that, and then to be trans on top of that, and then you've got, this other group of people within, this community that's already so tight knit is a really beautiful thing. And it's really lovely to have, sister girls and brother boys in our community. And like you said, Bree, like, just repeating what you said, we've always been accepted in our culture and in our community. And, it's only colonization that has brought with it transphobia. Our culture has always been welcoming to people like us. And that's a really beautiful thing to know that we come from this culture that has always accepted gender diversity and celebrated gender diversity. That's beautiful. And we have such a tight-knit group of, strong, deadly blackfella trans people. Like, that is incredible. And I can't even really describe the feeling, but it's just this deep feeling, and yeah, it's just
Amazingly worded, Hayden. Yeah, I loved exactly what you just said about that. A perfect explanation, and to show how how we are, and using those examples. Yeah, beautiful. All right, moving on.
Also, it's also about.
Oh yeah, sorry, Uncle Dean, you were saying something.
Sorry. So it's also for me, I'm going back 15 years where I've had to challenge the system, especially around our local Aboriginal Land Council. So when I went there, I had my Aboriginality form in my previous gender. And I went there and told them that I was transitioning and they weren't going to issue me with new papers. I was the first Aboriginal man to get married by Australian law 13 years ago. When I took my marriage certificate to the Land Council, then and only then, through a lot of mediation and avocation on my own behalf, I was able to change my gender on my Aboriginality papers. So that was a real struggle.
Awesome, Uncle. I'm so proud of you to be the first to get married and everything. But yeah, I'm so sorry to hear what's happened to you. But yeah, you're an inspiration to us, to all of us, Sistergirls and Brotherboys around Australia, especially to us younger ones. We look up to you, and yeah, you're doing very well.
I'm very lucky. I mean, I have my papers now, but I'm just wondering, like, any of you guys on the panels, are you going through that yourself with your land council and your Aboriginality papers and having the genders changed on it, or?
I haven't even bothered to try, to be honest, because I was concerned about the barriers that you've just mentioned. I haven't changed from my birth certificate either, because I'm pretty sure you need surgery for that, and which would probably be the same for proof of Aboriginality. So unfortunately, like, all of my official documents are still have my incorrect gender, which is really disappointing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There are so many barriers, and especially if you're a poor trans person and you can't afford surgery or gender affirmation in certain respects. I definitely can't afford surgery. Then you just can't change it, unfortunately.
Thank you, Hayden, for that.
Yeah, when I got mine, I already applied for it in my name. So I changed my name like 20, well, 30, maybe 35 years ago. No, not that long. Maybe about 25 years ago, 29 years ago. So when I applied for my Aboriginality, my name was already Lisa. So yeah, I didn't have any problem with it. But one thing I did want to mention, I didn't get an opportunity to mention it before, about stuff that I've been doing, is the their trans prison fund that I've been a part of. And I just wanted to shout out to the amazing people that have come together and all the people that have donated to the trans prison fund. And what it is money going to trans people who find themselves incarcerated. And I think Teddy might be going to share a link on the side. And, so if anybody out there has any connections with any trans people that are in prison or about to be released or recently released, they can apply for funds. I think, I'm not sure the amount they can apply for at this stage, but I think, stuff like bonds, and even if they need stuff in prison. And I just think, as someone who was in prison in my early years, it's such a needed resource out there. Often, when we find ourselves in prison, it's because, we've got drug and alcohol issues or other issues that, maybe separates us from our families as well. So not having their support, and also being trans people. So, and a chunk of that fund also is only for Aboriginal people. So, which is really good.
Yeah, great work,
Yeah, thank you, Annie. Thank you, Lisa, for that. You're doing amazing work, and you just covered one of the questions anyway. You answered one of the questions coming up, and thank you a lot for that, because, yeah, time is ticking on a bit, so we're just about to run out of time, everyone. But yeah, one of the last questions is, what is one of the key messages? Oh, sorry, what is one key message you'd really like people to take away from this forum? We'll start off with you again, Lisa, and then we'll go. We'll just go along. All right? Yeah. You just have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
I hate going first. I think to take away is that, we come from all different nations all across this country. Please, if you see somebody putting out a resource that's aimed at trans or gender diverse people, and it doesn't include Sistergirls and Brotherboys, call them out. People have, I call people out all the time, even ACON, but and they're really quick to respond and go, oh my God, we wanted to be inclusive, and just contact Bree at ACON, or if you've got a resource that you're putting out there and you want it to have the right terminology and an inclusive statement in it about Sister Girls or Brotherboys, just reach out to people like Bree or us at Sister Girls and Brotherboys, and we're happy to help you. And if you're engaging with a trans and gender diverse person, a lot of us are low income earners, and we're from very poor backgrounds, or have don't have a lot of money. Please pay them. Don't just take their their knowledge and take it for granted. Pay them, or offer them something in return.
Yeah, that's beautiful, wonderfully said, because like people do in organizations do need to understand and know that we are giving out our personal experiences as being transgender and being Aboriginal. We're giving a lot of diamonds and pearls out of treasures out of our spirit,
yeah,
to the world, and and we need to there needs to be some sort of incentive to go with it. So yeah, I agree with that, Annalisa. Thank you. Uncle Dean, what is one of the key message? What one key message would you like to tell the people to take away from this?
I'd like to say to our younger sister girls and brother boys is stay strong, stay true to yourself, be you, be proud, be deadly, and just reach out, because we are here for you. And I'm happy to walk personally alongside anyone I can to help them through their journey, to help them claim their rights of passage. So that's me, and thank you everyone for having me, and I love you all, and I've got to run.
Lovely to have you, Uncle Dean. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Can Mark say
yeah, could you yeah, Mark and Kate, do you want to go next?
I don't want to say, Mark, you
yeah, go ahead,
he's
Mark.
already got something in his head.
Well, I wish there was like more kids my age that are trans, and like have a group of kids that are my age. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know what?
Yeah, so what do you want?
Go on, keep talking.
Oh, that's really all. That's all I really wanted to say. Is I wish there was like a group of kids that were my age.
Yeah, so what he wishes for, which he always tells me about, is he would love some more brother boys, sister girls that are his age that hang out with him, and just so they can do more things, and look, because they're going. And can I say this?
What?
I think me as his mum, there's a different wave. So from the older trans people, like I don't think he experiences a lot of the stuff that you guys experience, and so it's just a new different wave, and it'd be nice to and that's what Mark said, it'd be nice just to sit with people that are his age, and they can just talk about like games and Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
I think ACON should fund a camp, no? The young brother boys and sister girls.
Yeah, so that would be cool, hey?
Yeah, I think there should be like a national retreat for us all.
GoFundMe. Let's do a GoFundMe. We just need a group of people
that'd
to
be
come
excellent.
together and go, right, we're going to do this. Let's make it happen.
And it'd be, I have to agree with Mark. If we can get a young group together, I mean, I've got some young fellas up this way that are reaching out for young people. Yeah, maybe we can. I don't know, Lisa, what do you reckon? You got brother boy, sister girl site. Maybe we can start up something, or maybe Mark can, since it's his idea. Maybe we can help him navigate in starting some kind of youth contact group, because there's a lot of them out there.
Well, I'll be beside him so I can help set stuff
And you
up.
are an amazing, amazing woman. Hats off and so much respect to you as a mum.
Because I just want to make him happy. And so, and these are the things that he wants in his life. So, that would...
I think that is really important for our younger generation and our younger brothers and sisters who are, under the age of 18 to connect, and I can hear Mark's cry, that...
and also,
a lot of younger sister girls and brother boys don't know about anything about sister girls and brother boys.
And also, I think sexual education, because he told me what he learned about sexual education. That's just man and a woman. A puberty. It was just, and so it would be good to, if they're just only learning that at school, do you know what I mean? I think there needs to be more of that. And if we do have a camp, maybe there could be half an hour or an hour about, just learning how your body works and stuff like that. Because he came home and he goes, well, how am I meant to have sex with someone?
Fine.
Yeah.